can you really hack your brain and teach your mind to get sober and have a new mindset? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's call. We are going to talk about some of the little tricks and tips that we've used to stay sober for a cumulative 13 years. I believe it is, maybe 14 years. Never did the math. But we're going to talk about something I learned in rehab, which was that you only need a few ideas to beat this. Now, in my life, from the time I was a young kid, I always knew the power of mindset and I knew how our minds reacted to certain things. And one of my pet projects was, for some odd reason, I like studying neuroscience and how the brain works. Weird thing. I'm not smart or anything. I know it makes it sound like I'm smart, but I'm not. And I went through and I learned different things about how the brain is hacked. And I want you guys to realize something at the outset of this call, and that is that your brain is already hacked, right? You already have brain hacks. You already have brain hacks you use. Every time you drink alcohol, every time you think a certain thought, every time you're programmed by checking your phone, watching the news, whatever it is, you are using brain hacks to get a result. Now, it might not be the result you want, it might be a bad result, but what we're going to talk about is how to counteract that and how to focus on what you need to do to get and stay sober and what you need to understand and how your brain is actually operating. Because I think if we understand how our brains are operating, life's going to be a lot easier because then we could forgive ourselves for things that we struggle with, we can start on a new path, and we could figure out what is exactly going on. So, welcome to the Christmas Eve live stream here on Talk Sober. I got to tell you at the outset, I'm sorry, nothing I can say can compete with the awesomeness of Terry's shirt. I just got to tell you that is the best Christmas shirt I've ever seen. Here I was thinking I was clever with the Grinch, but I can't compete with Tiki's wearing Santa hat. So, if you guys are here and you can hear us okay, let us know by typing something in the box. And let's get started. Terry, what are some mind hacks that you've learned, and what are the things that you've learned about the way that your mind processes things and the way that you're able to stay sober?
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy holidays. Um, well, the most important thing is making sobriety the most important thing. And the way that I've done that from the beginning. Well, let me go back a little bit from that first year I was sober. I got sober in August, and then my first holiday, real holiday. I mean, of course, there was Labor Day, but the first real holiday was Thanksgiving. And I was hitting the AA meetings and stuff. And I remember asking somebody, "Hey, is there an AA meeting on Thanksgiving?" And he said one simple thing. He said, "Are you an alcoholic on Thanksgiving?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Okay, there's your answer right there. And that was it. It was just do the same thing I'm doing for sobriety. Then, on the holidays coming up for Christmas, New Year's, all these holidays, do the same thing. Make that the priority. Maybe I have to step it up a little bit and make sure that I have some extra tools. Like if I'm going to somebody's house where there's a lot going to be alcohol, they're going to be drinking. Maybe I need to do some stuff like make sure another sober friend knows I'm going, or and bring my own non-alcoholic drink, stuff like that. And that was really important for me. Is just really take care of the basics of sobriety, and that's helped me through the years. There's other things that I try to do, and we can get into that a little bit later. But that's the main thing. Is just I have to make sobriety my priority.
Absolutely. And I think we need to really look at the way that our mind has worked up until now, because I always liken sobriety to kind of like learning to live again. You learn to live again, and this time around, we get the blessing in disguise that we get to choose what we think about and we get to choose how our mind works. And once we understand that we are human and we're subject to human things, right? We are subject to, if you go without food for a certain period of time, you're going to feel a certain way. If you go without media, TV for a certain period of time, you're going to feel a certain different way and you're going to think a different way. And when we look at that and we understand what alcohol does to our body, then we can move past the idea of guilting ourselves sober or thinking ourselves sober or whatever it is, and we can understand that hey, this is the way that I react. Like once I accepted that, I know there's a lot of talk in accept that you're an alcoholic, admit to your innermost self that there's an alcohol problem. And I think for me, what that means is understanding hey, history has shown, my track record has shown that this is what alcohol does to my mind. Like it's a given. I know that if I put this in my body, in my mind, this is the outcome I'm going to get. Much like if I drink too much sugar, I'm going to be lethargic and tired. If I don't eat right, I'm going to feel a certain way. And I even noticed this recently after going to the doctor, and he said, hey, lower your cholesterol by eating an apple and eating oatmeal every day. Now, oatmeal is as boring as hell, so it's kind of boring, but whatever. And I noticed that at the end of the day, usually around 10 or 11 at night, I'll have my apple that I'm supposed to eat purely because he told me to eat it. And my wife's like, hey, I don't want you to die young, so, eat the apple. It's I eat the apple. And I don't like apples, they bother my teeth, kind of like a chalkboard kind of deal. And I noticed that instantly after eating that, I start to feel better, right? No matter what, even if I'm tired or whatever, it gives me like a little perk. And I noticed that one little thing can change my mindset. And if I can be changed by an apple or whatever it is, then I start to understand that lots of other things can change, like taking a walk, not drinking alcohol, hanging out with sober people, understanding that what I put into my mind is what I get out of my mind. Recently, like a lot of you guys, I've been watching a lot of the politics about the stimulus check and how the government likes to give everyone the middle finger. And it's been getting me down in the dumps. And I have to walk away from it and say, hey, wait, you know what? My reality is that I'm sober and I'm okay right now. Now, it does suck what's going on, absolutely. And I think what we realize in sobriety is that we get a whole view of life rather than looking at things as they come and going after one little thing. It gets crazy. Like the other day, there was someone in my family and there was something wrong with the computer. And she freaked out. She's like, this is the end of the world because of the computer. And I was watching it and I was like, man, that was me 7 years ago. I would flip out. I would throw things. I would get angry because something didn't work the way that I thought it should work. And so my whole day would be ruined. I like if that happened to me, I'd be at the bar, guaranteed. I probably wouldn't even go to the bar. I had the keg in my office, so I didn't even have to go to the bar. And I would be drunk over something so simple. And now I look at it and I'm like, sometimes things don't work. It's just life. That's part of what goes on. And I think one of the mind hacks that I learned in sobriety is to give up my own self importance. Give up, like, hey, everything should work the way I want because this is my life. No, 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 no. This is life and we're part of it. This is life and we get to be part of it. We get to understand things and we get to know things. And when we understand that something like yesterday, my daughter decided to drive down the road with her phone on the hood of the car and bam, it went and slammed and everything. And I remember, I used to get really angry at things like that or I'd get really frustrated or whatever it is. And now I understand that I can have the peace and serenity that these things, while they might be minor inconveniences, they're not really changing my life as much as I used to think. And now I can look at them from a different lens.
Yes. Sorry, I had to walk away and shut some doors, so I didn't get the end of what you were saying.
No problem. Yeah, I was just talking about how, really the mindset changes from life needs to work the way I want it to, hey, this is what's going on. We're going to be okay. We're going to try
Yeah,
to do the best we can. And even if we're not okay, some people right now are not okay. Some people
right.
are behind on rent and worrying about what are you going to eat for Christmas dinner and stuff like that. And it's very difficult. And I would like to sit here and say, I'm sober, Marcus, and I got this mindset, and if that happened to me, I'd be fine. But I don't know. I don't know
Right.
what would happen to me. And take each day and every hour and every minute and say, hey, this is a gift. I'm going to do what I can with it. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. If I could be manipulated mentally by an apple or a drink, then I don't know what's going to come my way. And I think the beauty is that now I'm okay living in the uncertainty. Now I'm okay with, I don't know. Doesn't have to go the way I want. I'm not the orchestrator of everyone's world. And I think that really, really helps me stay sober. And also knowing, hey, you know what? I know for a fact, that a drink will manipulate my mind enough, it'll change my mindset enough to where all bets are off. I know that, and therefore I don't do that. And it no longer becomes the game of, I can't drink. It's, I don't want to do that to my mind. I don't want to have another glass of insanity. I had another glass. I had tons of them, and it always led to the same place.
Yeah, I remember, soon at right when I got sober. Well, maybe it was actually before I got sober. Well, my ex-wife and I, when we were married, we would go to these people's house near where we live, and they were kind of our substitute parents, and they were substitute parents of many, many people. And Christmas Eve and Christmas Day would be 25 people, and they'd like buy us pajamas, and we'd all wear them on Christmas Day. It was like a big family thing type thing that we do. And I did that in the last couple of years I got sober, when after I'd separated from my wife at the time. And they kept inviting me. And then I got sober, and they helped me get sober. And then I was invited that first year. And then all of a sudden, I stopped getting invited. It was like, wow, that affected me. I was like, what did I do? I'm sober now. I'm a great person now. But there was another reason there. What it was is there were kind of more friends with my ex-wife, not me. I think it was kind of a little bit of sympathy or whatever their reason. It doesn't matter. I still talk to them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still okay. But that was something that affected me that holiday, and I don't think that I was really looking to go after a drink to, you know, take care of that anxiety of me not being loved by them or whatever. But it definitely affected me. But it's okay. I just look at what I have, and that I have a home, and I was comfortable, and that's the way I look at it right now. There's things are going on, money's not coming, but I'm okay right now, and it's still everything's okay. And that's really what I try to base my days off of, is looking at what I have and what I'm grateful for. And I say that basically every webinar we have here. But
Mm-hmm.
it's what works for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like people are starting to comment finally. Okay, good.
There we go.
Good to see
Yeah.
you.
I think it's interesting too because, the same place we're at now, like as far as Terry and I, not a whole lot changed financially or whatever after we got sober, except our mindset. And it's
Yep.
funny because, we look at it, it's like you could choose to go back and look at, okay, I was pissed off, I was angry, I was not happy, I thought it was the end of the world every day. And what really changed? Well, nothing. It's kind of like presidential stuff. You look at politics and people flip out. Oh my God, Trump got elected. Oh my God, Biden. Oh my God, this person. Oh my God, this person. And realistically, over the last 40 years, no matter, I was going to say which clown, but no matter which person you put in the office, it doesn't really affect our lives all that much. Right? It doesn't, I mean, there's some things that happen, some people get affected, but as a whole, like, there's not that much that really changes. It's your mindset that changes. It's what you do that changes. We look at things historically, and if you look at it over time and you start to understand that, hey, you know what? Life is going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, you look at Facebook, and everyone on Facebook has an opinion, and they're all right. Even when they're wrong, they're right because they're on Facebook, and apparently everyone's right on Facebook, unless there's that little thing that says this has been proven wrong, right, or whatever it is. Um, but it's funny because like you could go on there, and it's like a world of the bullshit, and everyone's talking about this stuff. Now there's some good stuff too, but we don't pay attention to that. We're like a moth to a flame with the bullshit, and we look at it, and it's like, okay, what's really changed? The only thing that changed is now I'm on my phone, right? Am I too quiet? Let's see if that helps.
Apparently, there's
There
two
we go.
people that said,
Okay, I'll turn this down and turn you down and me up. That should work. Let's see. Is that working? Am I on the right mic? Testing, testing.
Testing,
Hello. Yeah,
testing. Which
I think
one
I'm
of us is louder now?
yeah, there we go. It's funny too because in life and in our world, it's like nothing really changed. You just looked at a different thing. Nothing really changed. You just watched the news. Nothing really changed. Um, we just did that. And so when we look at it and we say, well, hey, I can choose the way to live my life. I can choose what to focus on. And I remember in rehab, this is a mind hack that really helped me, is understanding that the mind is like a lens and you get what you focus on, right? And mind is a lens. Like if I sit out there and I'm like, hey, it's Christmas Eve, I got my Grinch shirt, I got my stuff I'm gonna cook, I got my Talk Sober family here, got all this stuff going on. But then all of a sudden, someone comes running out and they're like, hey, the stimulus bill passed, or this happened, or whatever, right? All of a sudden, our life seems to change, but nothing really has changed. Nothing really changed. I'm still sitting out there. I still got my food to cook. I still got this stuff. I still got my Grinch shirt. And we look at it and it's like, okay, how can I understand the way my mind works? Because we talk about this all the time, and Kathy says she likes Terry's shirt. I think that
Thanks.
is that shirt wins the prize of the year. I agree. Um, we look at it and it's like, okay, if we understand how the mind works, because you have two things: you have the working of the mind, and you have the content of the mind. All right, some people like me have a mind that goes to the negative. I go to the negative. You tell me something, and it's like my dad. You go to my dad, and you're like, "Hey, made a bunch of money this year," and he's like, "Well, did you pay your taxes? Did you save up for this? Did you do that?" It's never the positive. It's always the negative. And I know that that's how his mind works, and I know that's how my mind works. And now that I understand that, I can say, "Hey, now I can do something about it." And once you understand, hey, this is the way my mind works, whether it goes to depression, whether it goes to this, whether it goes to that, when we understand that, then we don't get hung up on the content. Because Terry and I, we could talk, we can get in an argument. And if he knows his mind works a certain way, maybe he's defensive or argumentative or happy, and maybe I'm defensive or argumentative or happy or whatever, and we know that the mind is working this way, we can understand that it's not about the content. It's like Ram Dass used to say. He would say, the place that we meet is in between our words. And I think that's very powerful because we get hung up on the words and we get hung up on the content. You look at it in alcohol circles. Like, I've never been to an alcohol meeting where there's not someone talking about how great it was and how awesome they were as a drunk and they drank 50 drinks and 60 and this and that. And it always goes there. And you can look at that and you can get hung up on that, right? This is something I learned in rehab where people will get hung up on the social aspect of the social parts of people's lives instead of saying, hey, where do we meet in the middle, and how do we stay sober? Because it's not about the content. It's not about how much I drank or how much you drank or what happened here or what happened there or the content. It's about where we're meeting. And life's the same way. It's about what's happening between the content, what's happening between what your mind is hung up on. And this saves relationships, it saves families, it saves all kinds of things because you understand that's how that person thinks. And that's okay. That's okay. And I can focus and I can look at things differently.
Right on. That's one thing I really concentrate on, and concentrating on that during the holidays is huge for me. And you know what they what I've done every year since I got sober is I do go to those AA meetings, and they always have a 24-hour hackathon. I'm a chef, so I usually do the food for it. So I go every 4 or 5 hours for 24 hours. Some of the best times on the holiday is Christmas morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, with
Yeah.
somebody that's having problems, and they happen to find their way in there and trying to help them. And being of service of that in that capacity is just huge for a holiday. I know a lot of people that go and they serve food at the shelters and things like that, and they just love doing that on their holiday too. It's Marcus was kind of alluding to the how we've gone through sobriety, and just for me, what I was kind of getting out of that is like when I've had money or a good amount of money, or versus when I haven't had a good amount of money, neither one has made me happy nor sad. It's always been my mindset and what I'm doing. Like, what makes me happy? Well, what makes me happy is like walking my dog out in the wetlands every day. Tomorrow it's supposed to pour down rain here. I'm going to go out there and walk my dog because it's awesome. In fact, when it's raining really hard, there's nobody out, so it's even better. But
And it's always fun to watch them like wallow around in the mud. And just real quick, if my microphone got better, let me know. I found out I was turning my headphone up, not the microphone up. So I think it's fixed now.
okay, good. So, anyways, it's really about what looking at what I enjoy doing. I enjoy being on a bicycle, and for you guys, what do you enjoy doing? And try to focus a lot on those things and sobriety. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you could answer right now. Well, I enjoy going to the bar, but if you're trying to get sober, that's probably not an option. At least it's not for me. I'm not going to the bar, but I was still in sobriety. I've still been able to go to some Christmas parties. I don't get invited to a lot of them because people know I'm sober and they're like, oh, we can't invite him. Not that they don't think that, I'm going to be a bore or anything. They just don't want to, they're concerned about me and they don't want to, trigger me, even
Yep.
though I'm good nowadays. But, but I don't get invited to a lot of things. It's come down to like one or two Christmas parties a year. Well, obviously this year, none. But, it's all in the mindset though.
Absolutely.
Trying to look at things. What's going to help me get through the holidays? What's not? What's going to be a bad thing to do? Try to stay away from those and work towards good things.
Absolutely. And for those just tuning in, if you're new here, we have all kinds of resources and everything for you over at talksober.com. If you want to support the work that we're doing here and help keep the show alive and help us finish our course and book, you can go over to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. That'll take you to our page where you can sign up for our sobriety course, which has over 30 different letters that I wrote as if I was writing to my former alcoholic self, which Terry has turned into videos and PDFs and worksheets. So it's kind of like a full-on 30-day sobriety kind of course deal. I do want you to know, Terry and I are not addiction counselors. We're not like trained therapists or anything. We're just sharing with you what helps us get and stay sober. And I think that'll definitely help you. You can go over to talksober.com, click the button for less than $1 a day, get all those tools and everything like that. And also, if you just want to get free stuff, you can put your name and email here and get some tools and things to help you get and stay sober. You can also get a call with me and Terry, and we can help you understand what happened with us and maybe give you some advice on how to get and stay sober as well. And that's
Right on.
talksober.com.
Hey, Stephanie. Stephanie says she's 7 days sober, and you mentioned further down that I just want to sleep this first week. Absolutely. Do what your body's telling you to do other than drink. But yeah, sleep. I had to sleep a lot. Your body's trying to repair itself. And it's going to take more than a week. And just what I ended up doing in that early sobriety, actually those first few months, I still do, if I'm able to, is I start to get tired during the day. I think I'm going to go lay down in the bed and take a nap. And that first while they were pretty long naps. Nowadays, if I get that tired feeling in the middle of the day, I'll go take a half an hour nap and I wake up feeling refreshed. But that's the key. Listen to your body.
Absolutely. And I think that's very important, is to give yourself some grace and understanding. You're on the mend. You're learning a new way to live, and it's okay. Like sometimes, like I'll be in my office and I used to think, oh, I got to work 24 hours a day because I work online and the internet doesn't sleep. And so I would sit out here and work myself. And now I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm calling it a day. I did what I could do today. I'm not going to be worth anything if I sit in here. I'm going to go relax or whatever. Listen to talks, listen to tapes, read good books. That's what I did in the early part of sobriety. Luckily, I was in a position where I didn't have to work for a couple of months. I worked off and on, but I didn't have to like go somewhere or anything like that. And I really started to read good things and study new mindsets and try to get new ideas into my brain. And I spent a lot of time doing that. And it really helped. Like, I don't know if I'd be sober today if I tried to run myself ragged and didn't say, "Hey, you know what? I'm getting sober. Let's chill." Same thing, if you broke a leg, you're not going to go jogging the next day. You're going to rest your leg. And for us alcoholics, we broke a lot of things in our life, and we start to focus on them. Kim said, this is an interesting one, Kim. I thought I was alone. She said one of her triggers was being tired. I actually found out that I like to be tired. I think it's something with like the depressant and alcoholism. That's a feeling I like is kind of being out of it and tired. Yeah, and I find that it's good to take naps and stuff like that, and it is good to realize your triggers and understand what's going on, and take a break when you need to. Megan, good to have you here. Merry
Yep.
Christmas to you as well.
Yeah. So Stephanie also says, well, there's a couple things, but the first one really relates to a lot of people here. What do we expect the first month or weeks? And then further down, this is something you can expect those first couple months and weeks, which is my neighbor really pressured me to have wine. He pulled out a glass. I was ready to counteract him with all my prep work, and my hubby jumped in and said, "No way," and he's on my side. That's great to have a partner that's on your side. It can be much more difficult if you have a partner that is actively alcoholic or just not really supporting you. But that's going to happen. For me, when people have pressured me, I'm just like, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. And if I can feel it's appropriate, I'll say no thank you. When I drink, I tend to break out in handcuffs. That's but you don't have to say that answer. You could just say no thank you. I'm allergic or whatever. But usually I just say no thanks. I'm not interested. And usually that's good enough. But some other things that you can expect in that early sobriety is we already talked about being tired. And the one thing that happens with a lot of us is the emotions start to come out. We spent so many years pushing down the emotions, and you got all these nerves firing off now because the alcohol is not pushing them down. And you can get emotional real easily, and you just have to do the same thing. Kick back, take it easy, relax. Remember that we talk about if you're craving a drink, take 15 minutes and do nothing. And maybe that craving will go away, or at least it'll lessen. And if it doesn't, take another 15 minutes. But same thing with that anxiety or the emotions, the anger and all that. Stop, take a step back, get out of the situation if you can, or just help yourself calm down if you can't get out of that situation. Just try to be calm. And a lot of times the emotions will subside, or maybe you need to work through them, and that's okay. It's okay to have the emotions. That's all right.
MF Doom says, that's nice. You got someone. My family pressures to drink because they don't want to deal with seizures and ambulance coming to my house. I would wish they would just let my seizure happen without calling anyone. Well, I would venture to say that the mindset that you currently have is probably a product of alcoholism. Like, I used to think that I was really depressed and had all these issues and everything. And some of us do, obviously, go to the doctor. We should always go to the doctor when we're detoxing. We should always go to the doctor if we think we have some kind of issue. Absolutely, without fail. But I actually found that a lot of my mindset was caused by alcohol. A lot of my depression, a lot of my thoughts that went down the bad way were caused by alcohol. And I had to actually give up alcohol to figure that out, which was the scariest thing in the world. And I didn't know I was going to figure that out. It wasn't like someone came to me and said, yeah, of course you're depressed because you're drinking a depressant. I don't know why that didn't click. It seems pretty simple now. But the alcoholic mind does not look at that. And we don't focus on the things. We focus on the now. And this is what's happening now. And, I feel this way, therefore I want to drink. But I think if we realize that our anxiety and a lot of this stuff, a lot of these problems that we have are because of alcohol, right? It's like the apple I eat. I eat the apple at night, I feel better. I start to feel better, even though I'm like, whatever, I'm tired, I feel better. Take a walk every day, I feel better. Unfortunately, with alcohol, it is causing a lot of the stuff. Like I know a lot of people talk about like coexisting conditions where you have multiple things on things on things that are affecting your alcoholism. Well, I think definitely go to the doctor, But I think alcohol is probably the big thing that needs to be handled. They say, when you get sober, don't try to do everything. Don't try to like make a new regimen for working out and quit smoking and quit this and wear ties every day. Like, no, just focus on getting sober. You got to get sober first, because that was the biggest issue in my life. Like that's the one that would have killed me. That's the one that was on track to kill me. All right. I have a cigar. I think I'll be okay. It's not the best thing, obviously, but one thing at a time, and understand what's going on, because, certain things don't affect our mind a certain way. And unfortunately for a lot of us alcoholics, our mind goes to the shit when we drink. Like, I know that's a guarantee. It's going to happen. If I'm sad and I drink, it's going to make that sadness 1,000 times worse. I'm going to wallow in my self-pity. I'm not going to find a way out. Then I'm going to be hungover and I'm going to have guilt and anxiety. I'm going to wonder what the hell's wrong with me. Because I wonder what the hell's wrong with me, I'm going to go have to drink again, which is going to start the cycle all over and start the cycle all over. And I'm going to be in this trap and I'm going to be like, what's going on? And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to fix all this external stuff that wouldn't even exist if I didn't have a drinking problem. I wish someone came along and said, you know what? Your problem is a drinking problem. That's your problem. Deal with that. Let's focus on that. It's not all this other stuff you think it is. It's this. And obviously, go to the doctor, figure your stuff out like I did. But unfortunately, I had some bad advice when I was getting sober. Someone told me point blank, you have alcohol misuse. Like, what the hell is alcohol misuse? It's called a drunk. Like, that's what a drunk is, If you misuse it, that's what you do. And I had to really separate and say, this is the problem. I wouldn't have these thoughts if I wasn't a drunk. I don't have them now that I'm not a drunk. So it was the drunk that made me that way. And when I separate it, life starts to change. And it actually starts to change pretty quickly, too.
It does. And MF Doom, I hear you, and I've been reading your comments, and yeah, maybe detox tomorrow, but it has to be more than a maybe. You got to go.
I would actually.
It sounds like you've been there before, so you know what the deal is.
And I would chime in and say, sorry, real quick. I was going to chime in and say, maybe go detox now. I don't know how busy the hospitals get on holidays. But I would go now rather than later, because detox can be deadly. So we definitely want to watch out for that, and, at least call a doctor or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were here last week too. I don't know if you've been here a few times before, as well, but yeah, this is tough. And I'm sure there's a couple other people on here that might be in the same boat you are. And for me, I had to detox. I had to go to the hospital. That was just the way it is for me. I do know people that did not, but it's really the safest thing to do is to go to the doctor first. As many of you already know, detox almost killed me. So literally, very, very close. So it's an important thing to do. Yeah. But it's really a decision you have to make. And once you get through that detox, then it's a matter of keeping it going. And if you've been to detox before, you probably realize, and they probably told you, okay, this time, what are you going to do differently? And that's, for me, that's a matter of what am I going to do to step up my sobriety program? For me, when I got sober, there's lots of comments on here as far as what people are going to do, like 90 and 90 and just different things that they do for their sobriety. I listened to those comments that people were making to me, and I did everything I possibly could. And then I figured out what wasn't working so well, but I took my time to figure this stuff out, of the stuff that may not be so helpful, and this might be more helpful. And that's what I focused on. But those first few months, it was about staying sober, because I had no idea what was going to trigger me to drink. I just had no clue. People told me what might, so I listened to that, but I really didn't know. So I had to just, everything I could possibly do, I did. And so far it's worked. I'm still sober.
Yeah. So. Doom says the anxiety is unbearable. I would challenge that. I mean, it feels unbearable, but you're bearing it. Like you're getting through it. And I found that getting through anxiety is a hell of a lot easier sober. Like it's way easier. The worst anxiety day sober is better than the best one drinking, because drinking you don't know what's going on and it keeps getting worse and piling up. Let's see. Derek says, in hindsight, I was recreating trauma from my childhood with my hangovers. Absolutely, I did the same thing. I would get mad at everyone that had played a part in my childhood and everything, and it fell away. Like I had people tell, "Oh, you got this, you got that," and when I got sober, it kind of fell away, which is pretty cool.
And just a quick side, another one, Derek says, antidepressants and benzos withdrawal has been more dangerous for me personally. I don't know. I've seen people go through those withdrawals when Marcus and I were both in the same rehab, and yeah, that looks like a horrible withdrawal, definitely. But I tell you, coming off of anything that you're addicted to is going to be it's difficult, and it affects different people different ways.
Yeah,
That's why getting help and having a program and having a game plan is just such an important thing. At least
absolutely.
that might help give you a chance at recovery.
And a side note too, one of the people that was detoxing from benzos in the rehab we were in actually was there when I took my brother years later. I was like, holy cow, I recognize it. And she's like, are you Marcus? I'm like, yeah. And it was like, wow, this is real. This is difficult. People deal with stuff, and relapse is a real thing. And, I don't think it has to be. I think it can be. I mean, all of us can relapse at any time, but I don't think it has to be. Relapse does not have to be a part of our recovery. We can focus on, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and really look at it and say, hey, I'm going to focus each day, and I'm gonna fight each day for my sobriety, no matter what the day brings. And maybe one day I'll get knocked out. I don't know. I don't know what kind of fights lie ahead in my life for sobriety. But I do know that what I did yesterday kept me sober, and what I'm doing today keeps me sober, and what I've done the last 6 years keeps me sober. And it all started with one day. And, you're going to have thoughts. You will have triggers. You will have anxiety. You will have these things. But I have found that living a life sober changes everything. Because if I don't have my mind, what do I have? And when I drink, I don't have my mind. I don't know where my mind's going to go. And it's very difficult.
Yes, looks like I turned the conversation to detox it off of everything else. It all sucks, man.
It
So,
does suck.
well, as MF Doom said, heroin withdrawal makes you want to die, and alcohol can make you die. But whatever, it's all horrible,
Yeah.
and that's why getting help is the most important thing.
Yep. And you can die from any detox. I mean, I don't know how it works chemically, but always, if you're detoxing, go tell them what you take, tell them how much you take, be honest about it. They're not going to care. Probably won't even remember you in 10 years, right? You tell them what's going on and you get the help you need, because, you can make it through. I didn't think I could. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. Before I
Right.
got sober, there was no light at, like, I was like, I hope I drink this and don't wake up. I invited it. I was like, I'm good, man. I'm good. And I didn't realize that I actually like my life. I actually enjoy being around when I'm sober. That was the alcohol lying to me. It was the mindset that it created, because I'm taking a depressant and it's conditioning my brain to be depressed. And now I get those thoughts today. I still get thoughts today. I still go down the bad trail. But you know what? I don't go with my thoughts. They go, and I sit here and I say, you could go ahead and be depressed. You go ahead and flip out. I'll be here when you're done. And he always finishes. And I come back and I say, that wasn't so bad. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Um, Upside down mostly is asking, is it just Xanax? But I don't know. That's why I didn't really answer the question for you, Armando, because I'm not exactly sure.
Uh, yeah, that would be one. Yeah. It's a certain type of anti-anxiety kind of deal. I personally didn't like them. I didn't like the way they made me feel. When I was drinking, I didn't care. I'd take anything you gave me because I didn't give a rip. But now I'm like, yeah, I don't like the way any of that feels. And luckily, haven't had anything like that since I've been sober.
Right.
I think the only thing I've had is Advil, and then I did have an issue when I was prescribed a asthma medicine, and I realized that the chemical makeup of the asthma medicine I had was very much like meth, pretty much. And I was up all night, and I'm like, I'm going to conquer the world. I'm going to work all day. And then I was like, wait a minute. I've been up for 3 days. I think there's something wrong. And I went to the doctor, and I said, is there something else I can do? She found me another alternative that worked, and I got through it. But it was good that I was able to catch it, because I could have easily just said, hey, I like this. I'm going to be productive psycho Marcus that takes this stuff in the disguise of helping asthma. And, we got to be careful with that. We got to watch how our mind is, because it goes real quickly.
Yeah. So Megan says, just change the subject now. Christmas has always been a trigger. I got so drunk every Christmas Eve for like 11 years, miserably hungover every Christmas morning, watching my daughter open her presents. Last few years, I had to take shots in the morning. Yeah. I actually was sort of different as far as during the holidays. I knew I had to, on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, those things, I knew I had to deal with people. So I did not get as drunk as I wanted to get, because I needed to maintain a little bit of sobriety. And so I did not get that way. It was all the other days that I did get that way. But yeah, that's hard. We all know the hangovers are horrible, especially on a Christmas morning when you're supposed to be enjoying yourselves. I mean, my wife and I were going to cook a nice meal tonight and have a special breakfast tomorrow, and it'll be nice. No hangovers, no nothing. It'll be great.
I might have a prime rib hangover.
Right on. I didn't get a prime rib because it's just two of us, so I'm doing filet mignon.
There you go.
But that should be good. So,
let's see. Anxiety after stopping drinking will make people drink again. Yes, it's very difficult, and it's hard. I fought it during my first 8 months being sober. Yes, anxiety will be difficult. Sobriety is difficult. I mean, you learned a way to live that was easy, like get in a fight with someone, go to the drink. Get fired, go to the drink. Everything, go to the drink. Now you got to be like, well, shit, I got to deal with this stuff without the drink. And anxiety was the worst one. For the first 6 months or so, I was a wreck. I stayed inside, tried to do what I could do, focused on being mellow. And I got to tell you, I would go to family members that I'd hung out with millions of times, and I'd get anxiety, like uncontrollable anxiety. I found something else to do. I'd go have a cigar, or I'd go for a walk, and try to find something to do to deal with my anxiety. And what happens is you realize that it starts to drop. It's going to start to drop, and you start to teach your brain, hey, it's not so bad. I'm going to live through this.
Yeah, because it was all about the mindset for me as well. I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back to me. Anyways, MF Doom, the reason I don't like Christmas is because I have no money to give presents to my family. I like to give. I hate opening presents when I can't afford to give back. I hear you, man. I was in that same boat. When I did get sober, I was able to start earning a little bit of money, and I was able to give away. But, one thing I did was I gave away my service, and that didn't cost any money. So I was able to do that. But it's hard, man. Yeah, I understand. You got no money to give. It makes you feel bad.
And you can give your family the gift of a sober you.
Yep.
Like sometimes that's better than material stuff. Like someone was talking about, the food they have or something like that. And it's like, it doesn't, like we put all this stuff on ourselves. Like you don't have a steak or whatever for Christmas, or a ham or whatever you like to make. You feel bad for yourself. And it's like, why? I'm going to have that on a Thursday. It doesn't make a difference. I can make that on a Tuesday. Yeah, I could be like, you know what? January 18th is my holiday. It's just because we say it so. We just happen to put all this stock and all this emotion into this certain thing. And it's like, why? Yeah, like, why do we wait till the end of the year to see family members? We can see them on whenever. Yeah, we can go February 8th. There you go. There's the new Christmas or whatever. And you have to look at that and say, hey, all this stuff we're putting stock in, just a way to feel bad for ourselves because of cultural conditioning. You know, it's funny. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was like, "Oh, you know, what are you gonna get your wife for Christmas? Are you gonna get her like some big fancy whatever?" And I'm like, "No, we actually don't do that. We're not big on getting gifts. You know, we're okay. Got things we need. It doesn't matter." And it'd be easy to feel bad about that or feel different, but it's like, you know, that's what we choose to do. Doesn't matter. It's just a big consumerism thing. I mean, you don't have to get into it. What is a gift? What does it mean? You know, what if I just enjoy someone's company? All these things are all mindsets that are just put upon you. What's supposed to be? You know, I was listening to something last night. It was weird. I must have been really tired because I listened to this philosophy book on tape about the philosophy and psychology of colors. Okay, I'm really weird. I listen to weird stuff. And he was like, you know, it's funny because in the old days, in old cultures, he was talking about how it used to be reversed. You dress the young girl in blue and the guy in pink. And I was like, wow, that's like a weird thought because now, you know, you dress your little boy in blue and you dress the girl in pink and girls like pink. And, you know, it's like the old thing when you're a kid and you think dogs are boys and cats are girls. I don't know. I thought that. I was a weirdo. But you have all these things that you think that are just put on you and it's like, they don't mean anything. They're just completely made up out of thin air. And because everyone agrees on them, now I feel bad and I feel like my life is over, like drinking, right? Why do I feel the pressure or the need to drink? Because everyone else does? The big FOMO, fear of missing out? Who cares? Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody. There might be one guy who's like, hey, you got to try this. Or like one time, this guy made wine without sulfates. He's like, you got to try this. And I got to tell you, it tastes like crap. I don't know what he put in that. But, you know, it was terrible. It was like, it tastes like feet. I was like, did you just take all the grapes out and just leave your feet in there? I mean, what's going on? But
yeah, that was the quality of the wine, not the sulfates.
yeah, well, he made it himself, so it was like, okay, buddy, yeah, this is, yeah. But you know, we look at it, and it's like all this social pressure, all these emotions we have, over what? Over what? Like people literally get in fights over this stuff. I'm right. You're wrong. This is the way it should be. This is the way it shouldn't be. This is the way I feel. What if it wasn't? What if it didn't matter to me? What if all the social norms didn't matter to me? What if I decided I'm just going to live the way I live?
And JM, yeah, Armando answered it. We met in rehab. And you know what's interesting about that is we met, we exchanged contact information. I mean, we were just going to get out of rehab and go on with our lives. And I contacted Marcus about something different. And then eventually we decided to start helping other people with sobriety. And that's how this started. And it just kind of goes to show you, you never know what your contacts, because Marcus and I we really help each other stay sober. Mm-hmm. Because we have this, it kind of gives us a little bit of accountability. We bounce ideas off of each other. This gets our mind going with the sober mindset, and trying to show people our sober mindset helps us stay sober. So it just goes to show how getting those contacts with people maybe in rehab or whatever through life. Mm-hmm. Hang on to them. You never know. When I was in the hospital, I had gotten a phone number from somebody a couple months before. When I was in the hospital, I called it, and that guy's still a good friend and helps me stay sober today, and I help him stay sober today. that's another one that I just had no idea I'd use this person's phone number. So hang on to those contacts. It's good. It can be
Absolutely.
very helpful.
Absolutely. And you just focus on what you can do because sometimes it's the unlikely stuff. Like when I got out of rehab, there were some people that, yeah, we were going to know each other forever. We were going to call each other, and it lasted like a month. And then Terry contacted me like a year later, and I was like, wow, we didn't really hang out or hit it off in rehab. We didn't talk a lot. Like probably the last person on the list I thought I'd be friends with years later. Not because of any flaw, just because, it just didn't seem like much. And, I'm glad that it worked out the way it did because it's a good thing. And it's good to have sober friends, whether it's digital, whether it's in person, whether it's whatever it is. Reach out, talk to people. And it's interesting because you realize that in sobriety, people feel the way you feel. People go through what you go through. Like the guy who was like, I'm in a basement and I drink and, I feel like I can't give anything to my family. We've all been there. I remember in rehab, I thought I was so clever because I hid alcohol under the grates of the gas barbecue. Like under the little thing, there's a little hood that goes under there and they fit perfectly. And he's like, oh, I did that too. I'm like, man, I thought I was special. I thought that was clever. He's like, nah, we all do that. What about sheetrock? Yep, I hit him in the sheetrock too. It's like, that's just what it is. And, we're all in this together. And that's what you look at. It's not a matter of, who's sober longer, who drank more, who had the worst story. It's a matter of we're all in this life together and we're learning about living again. We're learning a new way. We're saying, I don't need to accept what's put on me about this stuff. I don't need to accept what society thinks an alcoholic is or isn't. I found out that society actually knows very little about what goes on in the alcoholic mind. Very little. And, we can educate ourselves and we can stick together and understand what's going on.
Jan Michael Vincent, is that one of the Bee Gees? What? I think so. I don't know. It looks like it is. But yeah, but he was falling asleep back in your rehab class. Yep, I remember that. And I've gone to rehabs in my sobriety to go talk to people, and people are falling asleep all over the place. Definitely. And that's what you need to do when you're trying to get sober.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, guys. If you want to support the show, I'll tell you guys about our Talk Sober again. You can go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. It'll take you to the place where you can sign up for our sobriety mentor program thing, I think is the official name.
Oh, not
what's that?
Oh, he said not the Bee Gees. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. I'll have to Google it. But I don't have my second screen here, so I don't want to block my view here.
All right, so talksober.com. Yep, click the big yellow button. You can sign up here and get all our sobriety resources and everything like that. Also, make sure you subscribe, click the bell, like the video, and share it with anyone you think it would be helpful for.
Yes, right on. He was from Airwolf during the 80s. Okay. Sorry, I'll stop focusing on that.
That's all right. All right. Let's see. Yeah, my stepdad does that because he knows his wife won't look in the barbecue. All right.
Yeah. So mine was under the house. We all probably have those same hiding places and, yeah, exactly. Under the house. She's not going under there. There's spiders all over the place.
All right. Cool.
But you know what? Nowadays, it's Christmas Eve today, Christmas tomorrow. I don't have to drink. I don't have to hide anything. It's all good. I can enjoy the time with my family, which is just my wife, my dog, and my cat, and just take it easy. Try and be responsible. The CDC tells us to stay home, and you know what? Nowadays, I can do that. I can stay home. I can follow the rules and be a responsible person, and that's I like that. I like that in sobriety, being able to do those things. When I wasn't sober, I did not do those things. Mm-hmm. So that's a great thing nowadays.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I think we're about to the end of our call. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And if you have any last minute things you want to bring up, let us know. Also, talksober.com, big yellow button. You can check out the other resources, if I could speak correctly. Over at talksober.com, we got lots of good stuff for you, including a fancy logo. There you go.
And let me say one more thing.
Sure. Let me. There we go.
Reach out to us on the Facebook group. We'll both be looking at it, and we'll try to answer you. But another thing you can do is you can just Google meetings, alcoholic meetings. Just Google that if you're feeling uneasy. I guarantee you will find a meeting 24 hours a day for the next. They're 24 hours a day, but you'll find one on there, and you just join it. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to introduce yourself. If there's Zoom meetings, you don't even have to show your face. Just go there and listen. Or you can go there and tell people what you're going up against, and that might help you. So try that. Reach out to us on the Facebook group.
Yep, and I did put the Facebook group link in the chat box, and I'll also put the link to sign up for the course and support the channel. Also, so you can get us there. Lots of people in the Facebook group. They're pretty active in there. I'd like to be in there a little bit more, trying to be. But yeah, lots of good stuff in there, and you can reach out and talk to people. Remember also, with every sobriety type group, remember that we're all flawed people. So be careful with your information. Be careful with who you talk to. Take everything with a grain of salt. But as long as you're there to focus on your sobriety, I think you'll be okay. You're not there to, like some people go to AA to get a date. It's like, no, I'm going there to get sober, not to find a date. If you find one, that's fine, and nothing against that. But really focus on what you need to get. And I think that's one of the things that helped me in recovery and in rehab is, hey, I'm here to get sober. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to make friends. If I get friends, great. Glad I met Terry. If I don't, great. I'm here to get sober. That's what I'm here to do. And I think if you put that as your main thing, you'll be all right.
Right on.
All right, guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one. If I can find the button. There's a button somewhere that turns this thing off. There it is. All right, have a good one, guys. All right.